The ones who can hear. Not everyone can hear what's being spoken right now. Not everyone is meant to feel what is moving in this moment. This isn't just a message, it's a divine frequency, and only those tuned to heaven's signal can perceive it. If these words are finding you, it means something holy is unfolding inside your spirit. It means you've been chosen. And no, this is not a coincidence. You didn't click this video by accident. You were led here by divine hand, through unseen guidance, through the quiet echoes of the Lord's whisper over your life. This isn't just a message, it's a moment. And moments like these are never random. They are orchestrated, designed before you ever took your first breath. Before we journey any deeper into this revelation, I ask you to do 3 sacred things, not for me, but as your declaration to the heavens that you've heard the call. Like this video, not just as a gesture, but as a spiritual seal. You are marking this moment in the timeline of your soul. Subscribe to this channel because you're not alone. Over 70,000 others are awakening just like you, stepping into the frequency of divine purpose. This is your tribe. Comment the number 999 as sacred code representing the end of the old karmic cycle and the birth of your new divine assignment. If you are the chosen one, you will feel it in your spirit, and you will stay until the very end, because what's coming at the close of this message is not for everyone. It is a sacred activation, reserved only for the souls who are truly ready. Now, take a breath, deeper, let go of the noise, let the stillness wrap around you like a holy shroud. Because what you're about to receive is not information, it is transformation. You have been sensing it, haven't you? That something inside of you no longer fits the patterns of the past. That the conversations you used to tolerate now feel empty. That the places you once called home now feel like foreign ground. This isn't confusion, it's divine transition. You are not breaking apart, you are breaking open. When God selects someone, He doesn't send a crowd, He sends a call. A soft nudge in the night, a sacred stirring in the silence. Like Samuel, awakened in the temple, hearing a voice no one else could hear. Like Moses, drawn to a flame that wouldn't burn out. Like Mary, visited by an angel with a word that would change eternity. When God calls, He doesn't need approval from anyone else, He only needs your yes. And whether you realize it or not, your spirit has already said yes. That's why you're still here. That's why your heart feels like it's leaning in closer. You didn't just arrive, you were summoned. The world may have told you that you were too sensitive, that you think too deeply, that you feel too much, but heaven calls that sensitivity discernment. That depth is wisdom. That too much is exactly what God designed in you for your mission. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. Psalm 139 says it best. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Before anyone else had a name for you, God had a purpose. Before any plan was spoken over your life, His plan was already in motion. That's why the pain didn't break you. That's why the rejection didn't define you. That's why the silence couldn't drown you, because there was something eternal already planted inside of you, a seed of glory, waiting for a season like this to bloom. Your transformation doesn't begin with a change in circumstances, it begins with a shift in recognition. You must first see yourself the way heaven sees you, not as broken, not as forgotten, but as becoming what you were always meant to be, a carrier of light, a vessel of wisdom, a divine instrument. In the hands of the Creator, you've lived long enough trying to meet expectations that weren't aligned with your essence. You've dimmed your light so others could feel comfortable, but no more. The season of shrinking is over. The era of delay is ending. Now begins the unveiling. This is not a hype message. This is a holy moment. There's a reason your heart is pounding right now. There's a reason your spirit is stirred. You're not just being encouraged. You're being activated. You're being commissioned. And what you do with this energy is between you and God. I don't know what you've walked through, but I do know this. Nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the roots of your purpose. Every betrayal forged the steel in your backbone. Every silent night taught your ears to hear the voice of God, louder than the noise of men. You have been hidden, not forgotten. Protected, not punished. Prepared, not passed over. And now, heaven is pulling back the veil. You are standing at the edge of something sacred, and it's not outside of you. It's within you. The shift has already begun. The transformation is already unfolding. This is your call. This is your moment. This is your beginning. The signs have been SPAHEO, didn't imagine it. Those flashes of knowing, the numbers that kept repeating, the dreams that woke you up in the middle of the night with an ache in your chest and tears on your cheeks. Those weren't coincidences. They were codes, divine signals sent from the unseen realm to catch your attention and prepare your spirit. God never moves without leaving a trail of clues. He speaks in patterns. He whispers in signs. He places markers along the path to confuse you, but to confirm you. And if you're honest, you've been seeing them. The moments where time felt suspended, the words that jumped off the page, the scriptures that found you exactly when you needed them. That was Him. That was the Father saying, keep walking. You're getting closer. Look back. Remember the nights when you felt like giving up, but something in you refused to quit. That wasn't willpower. That was grace. It was the Spirit of God rising in your bones, reminding you that what's coming is greater than what was lost. It was divine endurance for a divine assignment. In John 10:27, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me." You have been hearing, not in your ears, but in your knowing, and that knowing has been guiding you out of old patterns, old people, old places that no longer match the frequency of who you're becoming. This is what spiritual alignment looks like. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, a restlessness that won't let you settle for less, a peace that shows up even when the situation doesn't change, a vision that keeps resurfacing no matter how many times you try to bury it. Do not ignore the signs just because they don't come with trumpets and thunder. Elijah didn't hear God in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire. He heard Him in the still small voice. And right now, there is a stillness speaking directly to your soul. You have been walking through a divine recalibration. That's why certain relationships fell apart without explanation. That's why your old ambitions no longer excite you. That's why even your prayers have changed, because you're not asking from the same place anymore. You're not striving for approval. You're aligning with assignment. The pain wasn't random, it was directional. It pushed you out of what was familiar but false. It stripped you of what looked right but wasn't right. And in that breaking, God was building something unshakable inside of you. Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." All things, even the things that made no sense, even the delays, even the disappointments, they weren't detours. They were divine designs. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are on time for the timeline Heaven wrote for you. And the signs have been aligning to catch you up to your calling. If you've been seeing the number 777, or 1111, or 999, you're not alone. These are not superstitions, they are signals. The number 999, in particular, is sacred. It marks completion and rebirth, the end of a karmic loop, and the beginning of divine assignment. When you see it, know that something spiritual is being finalized so that something greater can be initiated. You've been sensing it, that you are walking differently, seeing differently, hearing differently. You can no longer unsee what you've seen. You can no longer pretend that your old skin fits this new soul. That discomfort is proof that the upgrade is in progress. You are not crazy. You are being called. The visions you've been receiving are blueprints. The dreams you've been carrying are prophetic. The silence you've endured was not punishment. It was preparation. Like Joseph in the pit, like David in the cave, like Jesus in the wilderness. Before the emergence, there is always the silence. Before the unveiling, there is always the stripping. Before the arrival, there is always the alignment. Don't mistake the quiet for the absence of movement. Heaven is never still. Even when earth is silent, heaven is scripting. Angels have been assigned. Doors are being prepared. Conversations are being initiated in rooms your name is already being whispered in. You've been chosen, not just to receive, but to carry. To carry a vibration, a voice, a light that pierces through systems, strongholds, and soul patterns that kept your lineage bound. You are the breaker, the bloodline shifter, the one that says, "It ends with me, and it begins with me." And now, the signs are increasing because the shift is accelerating. What took years will now take moments. What seemed distant will suddenly be close. The veil is thinning, and those with eyes to see will see. Those with ears to hear will hear. You've been equipped with both. Matthew 13:16 echoes this truth. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. You are not missing it. You are being immersed in it. So now pause. Feel that. That's stirring. That's not emotional hype. That's spiritual fire. That's the breath of God beginning to rise in your lungs. And as it rises, so will you. Don't rush this moment. This is not a message to consume. It's a mantle to wear, a vibration to step into, a confirmation of who you've always been underneath the fear, the doubt, and the delay. You are the sign. Your life is about to become the evidence of what happens when a soul fully aligns with heaven's design. And if you've stayed this far, it means you are not just hearing, you are receiving. You are not just observing, you are responding. You are not just watching, you are awakening. The timing is not late. I tease Lord Devif, you're still here. It means your spirit is leaning forward. You're not just hearing a message, you're stepping into an atmosphere. And what's arriving for you is not simply a result of your desire. It's the result of divine design. Because heaven does not operate by Earth's clock. And what may have felt like delay to your human eyes has actually been precision from the perspective of God. Hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are not being overlooked. What you're sensing right now is not the arrival of something small. It's the approach of something heavy with divine purpose, something so specifically shaped for you that it could not have come a second earlier or a second later. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose." Under heaven, that means even the silence had purpose. Even the waiting had design. Even the detours had divine fingerprints. You weren't lost. You were being led. The road may have seemed winding, but it was always woven into the exact coordinates of your calling. You didn't waste time. Time was investing in you. Every unanswered prayer taught your soul to listen deeper. Every closed door trained your discernment. Every moment you stayed faithful in the dark became a seed that is now ready to break open in the light. You've been wondering, why hasn't it happened yet? But what you didn't see was that the preparation was as important as the promise. You had to grow into the weight of what God is bringing, not because He doubted your worth, but because He values your foundation. He never pours new wine into old wineskins. And you, chosen one, have been made new. Do you feel that now? The shift, the subtle but certain sense that something is no longer just coming, but already here. That's the evidence of divine timing, locking in. You're not running out of time, you're running into it. Think about Moses. For 40 years, he wandered in the wilderness. It seemed like delay. But when God finally said go, everything moved with divine speed. Think about David. He was anointed long before he was appointed. But the anointing didn't evaporate. It matured. It deepened. And at the appointed time, the crown found the man, not the other way around. That's what's happening to you. You don't have to chase the blessing. You only have to stay aligned with the builder. Isaiah 62:22 reminds us, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. And when God makes it happen, no person, no obstacle, no system can block it. What's coming to you isn't based on your hustle. It's based on your honor. You didn't skip the process. You surrendered to it. And that surrender is now unlocking supernatural speed. This isn't acceleration for the sake of movement. This is divine movement that builds momentum. It's the Spirit pushing you forward into rooms that you didn't network your way into opportunities you didn't have to force, into divine appointments that were set long before you ever prayed for them. Let go of the lie that you're behind. Let go of the lie that your breakthrough missed you. It didn't. It's arriving exactly when your heart is ready to carry it, with grace, not ego, with faith, not fear, with wisdom, not wounds. Because what's being released now is not just a result, it's a reward. And heaven doesn't give rewards to those who rush. It gives rewards to those who remain faithful. You remained, you endured the silence, you stood still in the storm. You kept praying even when it felt like no one was listening. You gave love when you were starving for it yourself. You forgave when it would have been easier to fight. You chose purpose when comfort called your name. And because of that, this is not just your season, this is your confirmation. There is no more striving, only stepping. No more chasing, only choosing. No more waiting, only witnessing. The fruit is now forming. The clouds are parting. The spiritual atmosphere is cracking open. Your name is being whispered in places you haven't even entered yet. Your essence is drawing in what's been divinely held for you. The blueprint that heaven wrote with your name on it is now being activated in real time. And here's the truth that needs to anchor you. If it had come any earlier, you would have received it as a burden. But now, you're ready to carry it as a blessing. Luke 1:45 declares, "Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord would fulfill His promises to her." You didn't just believe in the promise, you believed in the promiser. And that's why the promise is now unlocking. Do not be afraid of what's coming. It will look unfamiliar, but it will feel like home. It will stretch you, but it won't break you. It will elevate you, but it won't inflate you. You've been called for such a time as this, so take this moment, let it sink in, let it reach the places inside of you that have been longing for validation. The waiting was not wasted, it was worship. And now, worship is about to become witness. Raised in the shadow, revealed in the light. There's a reason it all felt so quiet, a reason you spent so many seasons unseen, unheard, misunderstood, a reason your progress didn't look like others, a reason you kept asking God, when will it be my time? And the only answer you got was silence. You weren't being ignored, you were being incubated. Before God reveals a voice to the world, He refines it in the wilderness. Before He releases a mantle, He builds a vessel strong enough to carry it. That's why you were hidden. That's why you were set apart. Because He was making you holy, not in appearance, but in essence. You weren't forgotten. You were being forged. This is the part no one talks about. The sacred tension between calling and visibility. The waiting room of destiny. Where your name is known in heaven but unknown on earth. Where the Spirit whispers fire into your bones. But the world sees only ashes. But God sees the flame. And He's been watching you steward it in secret. Like David in the fields, you've been practicing your anointing in obscurity. You've been tending sheep while carrying a king's mantle. You've been slaying inner giants while no one was watching. You've been protecting what no one else thought was valuable, and heaven has been recording every moment. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." And your heart has been faithful even when your hands were weary. You chose to worship instead of complain. You chose stillness instead of striving. You chose truth instead of attention. And now, the shift has begun. The hidden season is ending, not because it was a punishment, but because the foundation has been built. The weight you're about to carry requires stability. And you, chosen one, are stable. You know how to hold revelation without arrogance. You know how to walk in favor without forgetting the fire. You know how to speak with power and still bow in humility. That's why the mantle can now be revealed. Make no mistake, this is not about becoming famous. This is about becoming faithful to the fullness of your assignment. This is not about attention. It's about authority. The kind of authority that cannot be stolen, imitated, or faked. The kind that only comes from being crushed and still choosing to worship. The weight you carry is not ordinary. That's why your path hasn't been either. Every delay, every detour, every door that refused to open wasn't rejecting you, it was protecting what God is doing through you. The favor you're about to step into is not a reward for your perfection. It's a confirmation of your obedience. You have been trained in silence for a mission that requires spiritual sound, and now, that sound is rising in you. Like Esther, your moment has been building behind palace doors. Like Joseph, your dream has been maturing in the pit. Like Paul, your voice has been sharpened in the prison of isolation. Like Jesus, your power has been revealed in the wilderness. You've been raised in the shadow, but now you will be revealed in the light. And when it happens, you won't have to announce it. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your voice will break strongholds. Your story will carry oil that transforms dry places. Because you didn't just survive, you were sanctified. You didn't just wait, you were woven. You didn't just hold, and you held fast to the throne of grace. And because of that, the authority you now carry isn't borrowed. It's born. Born from every moment you wanted to give up, but chose to rise again. Born from every prayer whispered through tears. Born from the midnight conversations between you and heaven. You've been entrusted, and heaven does not entrust lightly. Luke 12:48 says, "To whom much is given, much will be required." You are being given much, not just influence, but insight. Not just platforms, but prophetic perspective. Not just resources, but revelation. And it's not for you alone. It's for those assigned to your voice. Your life is the answer to someone's silent prayer. That's why you had to be refined in silence, so when you speak, it comes from the Spirit, not from self. So when you move, you walk in clarity, not in ego. So when you shine, you reflect His light, not your own. This is what heaven was preparing. Not a public spectacle, but a spiritual sentry. Someone who guards the sacred with wisdom. Someone who releases glory without distortion. Someone who understands that being chosen is not a title, it's a responsibility. And now, the responsibility is activating. The spiritual voltage around your life is increasing. You may feel an internal buzz, a holy pressure, a deepening gravity around your name. That's heaven announcing, it's time. You don't need to fight for your place. Your place is already prepared. You don't need to prove your value. Your value was set before you were born. Jeremiah 1-5 whispers the truth. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. You were set apart, not for isolation, for impact, not for punishment, but for positioning, not for delay, but for divine delivery. So stand tall, chosen one. Your authority has already been sealed in the courts of heaven, and what God seals, no man can break. The rising is not coming, it has already begun. Remember who you are. The most dangerous thing the enemy ever tried to do was convince you to forget who you are, not by stealing your money, not by taking your opportunities, but by distorting your identity, because once your identity is shaken, everything else becomes vulnerable. But heaven never forgot. Heaven has always known your name. Heaven has always whispered to the truest version of you, even when you couldn't hear it, and now finally you are starting to remember. You're not remembering with your mind, you're remembering with your soul. Something ancient is being reawakened in you, something sacred that predates every label you've ever worn, every title, every wound. Every version of you that you built just to survive. You are not who the trauma made you. You are not who rejection tried to reduce you to. You are not who fear painted you as in your weakest hour. You are who heaven authored you to be before you ever took your first breath. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." That's not poetry, that's truth. You were formed from image, filled with essence, and crowned with purpose. You weren't an afterthought. You were a divine decision, and you've always felt it, haven't you? That ache in your spirit that told you there had to be more. That holy discomfort when you tried to shrink into boxes built for smaller lives. That deep cry that rose up in you when you almost forgot your worth. That was identity trying to rise. That was glory trying to breathe. That was the real you knocking from the inside. The world taught you to play roles as protector, achiever, peacekeeper, performer, but God never called you by any of those. He called you beloved, chosen, royal priesthood, light bearer, kingdom builder, breaker of chains. And you've been acting small, not because you are small, but because no one ever taught you how to hold the weight of your true identity. Until now, this moment isn't just about awakening to your calling. It's about reconciling with your soul. It's about realigning with the blueprint that God wrote before your birth certificate existed. Jeremiah 1-5 echoes again in this season like thunder in your spirit. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That means your purpose was not assigned after you proved yourself. It was encoded into your very being before time began. And if God knew you, then he never abandoned you. If he appointed you, then no mistake has unappointed you. If he called you, then no silence has disqualified you. You've been carrying an identity mismatch. The label you've been wearing and the light within you don't match anymore. That's why you feel stretched. That's why you can't stay in environments that once felt comfortable. That's why your spirit keeps rejecting what your flesh still wants to hold onto. Because the real you is rising, not the version shaped by the world, but the version sculpted by the word, not the self created by survival, but the self summoned by surrender, not the mask, but the mantle. Do you feel that fire right now? That's not emotion, that's recognition. Your spirit is remembering. Your heart is reuniting with the essence of who you've always been, a child of the Most High, God, not just in theory, in authority. Romans 8:16-17 confirms it. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now if we are children, then we are heirs. You are an heir not to insecurity, not to fear, but to glory. You've been crawling when you were born to fly. You've been asking for permission in rooms you were assigned to lead. You've been dimming your light to make others feel comfortable when your light was designed to disrupt darkness. This next chapter is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming someone ancient, someone eternal, someone already seen by the eyes of God. You don't need to create yourself. You need to return to yourself. And that return is sacred. It is spiritual. It is seismic, because the moment you embrace your identity, you become immovable. No weapon formed against you can prosper, not because you're strong, but because you're aligned. Alignment is protection. Identity is armor. Clarity is authority. And right now, the heavens are shifting on your behalf, not because you earned it, but because you remembered it. This isn't motivational. This is divine memory. The kind of memory that sets captives free. The kind that awakens destinies buried under years of pain. The kind that unlocks doors without keys because the door recognizes the one who was always meant to walk through it. You are not just stepping into favor, you are stepping into full recognition. The enemy is terrified of this version of you. Not the one who doubted, not the one who settled, but the one who knows, the one who sees, the one who remembers. This is the moment where heaven says, "Now you see what I've always seen." And once you see it, you can never unsee it again. So stand in it, speak from it, build from it, pray from it, because this time, you're not building from your wounds, you're building from your worth. Distraction is the last weapon before Diestian Wyeth. There's a reason the noise got louder when you got closer. There's a reason confusion tried to cloud your mind, just as clarity was beginning to settle in. The closer you get to destiny, the more the distractions begin to multiply. But not all battles are meant to be fought. Some are meant to be ignored. You don't need to answer every voice. You don't need to chase every shadow. You don't need to prove yourself to those who never had spiritual eyes to see you anyway. This is not the time to debate your destiny. This is the time to walk in it, because distraction is often the final weapon the enemy uses when he can no longer deny what heaven is releasing in your life. You've been feeling the pull lately, haven't you? That subtle pressure to go backwards, to explain yourself, to second-guess what you've already prayed for, to water yourself down just enough to fit into the version of life that used to feel familiar. But you can't go back, because going back means abandoning the alignment. You've already paid the price to walk in. You didn't spend all those nights praying, just to compromise when the promise is near. You didn't endure all that silence just to forfeit it now, for noise. You didn't let go of what was false, just to entertain what is flashy. This is the time for focus, sacred, fierce, prophetic focus. Proverbs 4:25-27 says, "Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil." Because what you focus on fuels your future. What you give your attention to gives you your direction. And the enemy knows that if he can't steal your blessing, he will try to steal your vision. He'll try to drown you in distractions, not with darkness, but with detours. Not every open door is from God. Not every invitation is divine. Not every opportunity is a confirmation. This is the hour for discernment. You don't need more information. You need inner stillness, because in stillness, your discernment sharpens. And when discernment sharpens, deception dies. Jesus was clear. In John 10:4-5, his sheep follow him because they know his voice, but they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. The key to discernment is not just identifying the wrong voice. It's becoming so familiar with the right one that everything else sounds foreign. You've been trained for this. Every season of silence taught you to hear differently. Every disappointment trained your ears to recognize what doesn't belong. And now that the doors are opening, your discernment is the filter that will determine which ones you walk through. And let's be honest, some distractions look like blessings. They sparkle, they smile, they sound like opportunity. But your spirit knows the truth. If it costs you your peace, it's not purpose. If it tempts you to shrink, it's not sacred. If it derails your vision, it's not destiny, it's delay in disguise. You don't need to run faster. You need to move smarter. There is a difference between speed and sensitivity. The world moves in urgency. The spirit moves in alignment. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are being filtered for precision. God is refining your route, not because he's punishing you, but because he's protecting what's about to pour through you. This is why the distractions showed up, not because you're off course, but because you're on target, and the enemy fears nothing more than a focused child of God. He doesn't mind you being talented, as long as you're distracted. He doesn't mind you being anointed, as long as you're aimless. He doesn't mind you being powerful, as long as you're passive. But the moment you become focused, everything changes, because a focused spirit is a dangerous one. You begin to discern who is for your destiny and who is for your history. You begin to recognize when God is testing your obedience versus when the enemy is baiting your attention. You begin to value silence as a weapon, not a weakness, that this is not the time to explain your elevation. This is the time to protect it, because elevation comes with exposure, and exposure requires boundaries. Jesus himself often withdrew from the crowds, not because he feared them, but because he valued clarity. Luke 5:16 says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." That's not weakness, that's wisdom. You're not retreating, you're refining. Don't feel guilty for stepping away. Don't feel bad for saying no. Don't apologize for not being available to what you've outgrown. This is your consecration season, the part of your journey where heaven sets you apart, so the assignment can be completed without contamination. And yes, the distractions will get louder, the temptations will increase, the noise will rise, but so will your discernment. You are not where you used to be. You are moving from spiritual survival to spiritual strategy. You are learning that the enemy doesn't need to destroy you, only needs to distract you long enough to delay you. But that won't work anymore. You've come too far. You've endured too much. You've seen too clearly. You've heard too deeply. The veil has been torn. The illusion is over. You now know what's real. And what's real is this: you are in the middle of a divine mission. You don't have time to entertain what isn't sacred. You don't have energy to give to what isn't assigned. You don't have space in your spirit for anything that doesn't serve the truth of who you are becoming. This is a holy season. Guard it with all diligence, because when you protect your focus, you protect your future. When God repositions, nothing stays the same. Been feeling it, haven't you? The shift, the shaking, the sudden change in atmosphere, the relationships that no longer feel anchored, the doors that once opened easily, now feel heavy. Old routine that once fit like a glove, now feels like a cage. Let this be clear: you are not breaking down. You are being repositioned. When God begins to shift you, he doesn't always give you a warning. He just starts moving, pieces pulling you from old spaces, removing voices that no longer serve your destiny, disrupting the rhythm you've come to rely on, not to confuse you but to place you, because where he's taking you, comfort cannot follow. Sometimes the place that held you yesterday is not permitted to hold you tomorrow. This is not punishment. This is prophecy in motion. In Genesis 12:1, the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household, to the land I will show you." God didn't even name the destination. He simply commanded a departure. Because faith doesn't require full clarity. It requires full obedience. And that's what's happening to you now. God is moving things in your life, not because they're bad, but because they're too small. That relationship that began to fade, that job that suddenly feels off, that friend circle that doesn't understand you anymore. It's not random, it's realignment. Heaven is not interested in your comfort. Heaven is committed to your calling. And when you start to grow into your next, your current environment will begin to reject you, not because you're wrong, but because you're ready. You've probably asked, why is everything changing so fast? Because acceleration always comes after displacement. Just like Joseph had to be removed from his brothers, from Potiphar's house, from prison, because God had already prepared the palace. Just like Elijah had to be fed by ravens in obscurity, before calling down fire in public. Just like Jesus had to withdraw from Nazareth, the town that knew him only as a carpenter's son, before revealing himself as Messiah. You cannot reveal your full glory in a space that only recognizes your history. That's why God is moving you. Geographically, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. It might feel like loss, but it's really liberation. The people walking away, they're not abandoning you, they're making room for the ones assigned to the next version of you. The opportunities drying up, they're not rejection, they're protection from distractions that would delay what's truly yours. The silence, it's not absence, it's heaven clearing space so you can finally hear your name echoing from a higher dimension. And listen, chosen one, you are not being removed from something, you are being planted into something greater. Isaiah 61:3 says, "You are a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor." But even divine plantings require uprooting. The soil of your old season cannot sustain the roots of your future growth, so don't resist the removal. Don't fight the shift. Don't mourn what heaven has already marked complete. You are not being overlooked, you're being overhauled. You are not being delayed, you are being delivered. You are not being displaced, you're being deployed. This repositioning is strategic. You are being moved into alignment with the exact people, places, and portals that carry your next dot. God is placing you where your voice won't be silenced, where your gifts won't be buried, where your presence won't be tolerated but celebrated. This is not the time to cling to what's leaving. It's time to bless it and release it. You can't carry the weight of destiny while dragging the corpses of what no longer lives. Let it fall away. The relationships that ghosted you, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the platforms that closed their doors, let it fall. If it left, it was not meant to witness your rising. The pruning is proof that growth is here. John 15:2 reminds us, every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You've been bearing fruit in a tight space, and now God is giving you room to expand, but expansion always starts with disruption. And here's the most powerful truth of all. You don't have to understand the move to obey the move, because sometimes God removes before he reveals. Sometimes he shakes you before he settles you. Sometimes he breaks routine so he can break chains. And that's what's happening now. The shift you feel is not chaos, it's choreography. You are being moved with intention. Your spirit knows it, even if your mind is still catching up. So hold steady. Don't rush to replace what God is removing. Don't grieve what God is graduating you from. Don't question what your spirit already knows. You are being placed, and once you're placed, favor will begin to flow where there was once frustration. Peace will come where confusion used to live. Clarity will fall like rain. Connections will show up with divine timing. Doors will open with no key, because you, chosen one, are the key. You don't have to chase what you iron at your right. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the striving stops, when the anxiety falls silent, when the constant reaching becomes sacred receiving. And that moment is now. You've been trained in the tension. You've been tested in the wilderness. You've been refined in the furnace. And now, God is saying, come and receive. This is not about earning. This is not about performing. This is about inheritance. Because what heaven is releasing to you now was never meant to be chased, was meant to be claimed. Romans 8:17 calls you an heir of God and co-heir with Christ. That means you're not a beggar at the gates. You are a child in the house. You don't knock to be let in. The door was always yours. The blessing was always yours. But heaven waits until you know who you are before it releases what you carry. And now you know. Not just intellectually, but spiritually. You've stepped into recognition. And recognition always precedes release. There are things that were held back not because you weren't worthy, but because you weren't ready to carry them. Because blessing without identity becomes a burden. Favor without spiritual maturity becomes a fall. But you've been forged. You've been formed. You're ready. Let this settle in your spirit. You don't have to chase what was written into your scroll before time began. You only need to receive it. Ephesians 1:11 affirms it. In him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. That means your blessing is predestined. Your breakthrough is pre-approved. Your next season is already prepared. So why did it feel delayed? Because the inheritance doesn't respond to need, it responds to identity. You had to remember who you were. You had to strip off the false selves, the performer, the people pleaser, the one who thought they had to earn what was already etched into heaven's record. That's why the old strategies stopped working. That's why the grind exhausted you. That's why every open door that made you compromise your worth started closing. Heaven was interrupting your hustle with grace, because you were never meant to perform for what's already been promised. This next outpouring will not come through striving. It will come through stillness. It won't feel like pressure. It will feel like peace. And if it doesn't feel like peace, it's not yours. You see, when inheritance is released, it comes with an ease that cannot be counterfeited. It comes with alignment, not anxiety. It comes with flow, not force. It comes with confirmation, not confusion. Isaiah 32:15 whispers, in quietness and trust is your strength. That's not just a verse, that's a strategy. The more still you are, the more heaven can deposit, because you are not being rewarded for performance. You are being entrusted because you finally believe, I am my Father's child, and as his child, you are now walking into blessings that were spoken long before your struggle began. This is not new favor. This is stored favor. Favor that was delayed because the weight of it would have crushed the old you. But now that you've shed those skins, now that you've surrendered the script written by fear, Now that you've returned to your divine name, the vaults of heaven are opening. You are about to see sudden shifts, not because you fought harder, but because you've finally aligned. The check will come unexpectedly. The opportunity will call your name. The door will open without you touching the knob, because this season isn't about laboring into what's yours. It's about living in what's already been given. Do you feel it? That subtle shift, the tension lifting, the pressure dissolving. That's heaven releasing clarity, releasing confirmation, releasing provision. This isn't a maybe. This is manifestation. But remember, manifestation is not magic. The visible arrival of what's always been true in the spirit. That idea you've carried quietly, it's about to bear fruit. That vision you sketched in journals, it's about to find favor. That promise you've wept over in private, it's about to go public, and you won't have to announce it. The fruit will speak. The results will testify. Your rest will be your revolution. People will ask, how did this happen so fast? And you'll smile, because it wasn't fast. It was faithful. It didn't happen suddenly, it happened silently, over years of spiritual formation. This is why you had to be hidden. This is why you had to go through what you did, so you could receive without self-doubt, so you could hold without hesitation, so you could walk into fullness without fear. The time of hoping is shifting into the time of holding. The time of believing is merging into the time of becoming. And you, chosen one, are not waiting for the blessing anymore. You are walking in it. The healing had to come for peace, for the fullness could arrive. The Father had to touch the fractures. Before the platform there had to be purification. Before the blessing could rest in your hands, it had to rest in your heart. Because what God is doing in your life now isn't just external elevation, it's internal restoration. You may not have seen it, but healing has been unfolding quietly beneath the surface. And it's been messy, it's been painful, it's been lonely, but it's been holy. Because before He could promote you, God had to repair you. There are pieces of you, memories, beliefs, defense mechanisms that were never meant to go with you into this next dimension. There were wounds that would have bled all over your blessing, so He paused the release until your spirit was ready to receive without resistance. Psalm 147:3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. That's not poetic fluff. That's God's process. And if you've felt broken lately, emotionally raw, mentally stretched, spiritually fragile, it's not weakness, it's healing. God doesn't heal what we hide. So He brought things to the surface, the fears you buried, the trust issues you normalized, the bitterness you tried to dress in busyness. He uncovered it not to shame you, but to set you free, because the blessing will not serve you if the brokenness still owns you. You needed to see yourself clearly, not through the lens of shame, but through the eyes of heaven. And now that you see it, that pattern, that pain, that pocket of unbelief, He's inviting you to release it, not manage it, not suppress it, but let it go. You are not your trauma. You are not your failed season. You are not the story the enemy tried to write with your scars. You are whole in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:17 proclaims, If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. And that's not just a spiritual reality, it's a soul alignment. The new is here, not coming, not almost, but here. The restoration has already begun. You may still feel tender, but you're no longer bleeding. You may still remember, but it no longer rules you. You may still tremble, but the trauma is losing its grip. Because healing is not about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming the power that pain once stole from you. And chosen one, your power is returning. That sparkle in your eyes, that's resurrection. That calm in your voice, that's maturity. That softness in your heart, that's what happens when the stone is rolled away. Don't overlook the inner miracle. You've learned how to forgive without an apology. You've learned how to trust God when you couldn't trace Him. You've learned how to rest when your old self would have run. That is fruit. And it's from this healed, whole, rooted place that you're being launched. Because a fractured vessel leaks the oil, but a healed one pours. And heaven is about to pour through you, not with residue, but with revelation. You've been asking for more. God's been waiting for alignment. And now, your soul is catching up to your spirit. No more delays caused by no more sabotage dressed as subtle protection. No more shrinking when called to shine. You're not just receiving a blessing, you're becoming the blessing. The healing has made you ready. The wholeness has made you weighty. The restoration has made you recognizable in the spirit realm. Your new frequency is peace, your new standard is presence, your new assignment is overflow. You will no longer build from brokenness, you will build from belovedness. So breathe deep. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let the last remnants of the wound exit your body. You are not walking into this new chapter wounded, you are walking in well, and that wellness will echo through everything you touch, every conversation, every room, every assignment, because healed people don't just attract opportunity, they attract divine legacy. Let Psalm 23:3 rest over you now. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. The restoration wasn't random. It was righteous. It was for his name, and it was for your next. You were not just being healed, you were being made whole. When purpose meets responsibility, chosen one, there is something sacred about this moment. The energy has shifted. The veil has lifted. What once felt distant is now drawing near, and what once felt like survival has now transformed into a summons. You are not just being seen, you are being sent. Because elevation always comes with responsibility. You've cried for the breakthrough. You've waited for the door to open. You've longed to step into the fullness of what God has whispered over your life. But now that it's here, heaven is asking a question. Will you carry it with purity? Because what's being placed into your hands is not just a blessing, it's a mantle. This is where many turn back. Because the miracle looks glamorous from afar, but up close, it requires surrender. Not once, but daily. Not just of sin, but of self, of pride, of preference, of comfort. Luke 12:48 declares, "To whom much is given, much will be required. And beloved, much is being given to you. Not because you asked for it, but because you were built for it. You weren't created to blend in. You were created to bear fruit. And fruit isn't just for you, it's for those assigned to your branches. God didn't bring you through the fire just so you could testify. He brought you through the fire so you could ignite others. Your scars were never meant to be hidden. They are maps. They are instructions. They are proof that resurrection is real. You've been prepared to be a midwife for miracles. Now, heaven is activating that part of you, the builder, the teacher, the healer, the intercessor, the warrior. Your voice is not an accident. Your presence is not random. You've been positioned to carry weight in the spirit. This is why the pressure was so intense. This is why the warfare wouldn't let up. This is why the loneliness lingered longer than expected. Because purpose must be protected. Heaven had to shield your seed before it sprouted. The people who left, protection, the plans that crumbled, direction, the dreams that died. Resurrection, because now they return with clarity. There is oil on your life that cannot be counterfeited. And now that you've passed the tests of character, of trust, of obedience, God is expanding your territory, but not to make you visible, to make his glory visible through you. You've been asking for miracles, but you are about to become one. You will speak and systems will shift. You will write and chains will break. You will sing and the atmosphere will change. You will stand in places others couldn't reach, and your presence will carry breakthrough. This is not self-confidence. This is God confidence. This is what happens when a soul aligns so fully with heaven that the natural begins to reflect the supernatural. And with that alignment comes responsibility. You'll need to protect your energy. You'll need to guard your time. You'll need to steward your voice with discernment. Not every platform is sacred. Not every invitation is destiny. Not every opportunity is yours to carry. But the ones that are, they will carry fire, because you are no longer just responding. You are releasing. Your words will not be suggestions. They will be keys. Your ideas will not be noise. They will be strategy. Your actions will not be reaction. They will be instruction. You are being transformed into a living message, one that cannot be denied, one that cannot be silenced, one that doesn't just inspire people, but activates them. Isaiah 61:1 has been etched on your life. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives. That's you now, not just a recipient of anointing, a carrier of it. And carriers don't walk lightly. They move with precision. They speak with authority. They serve with humility. They shine with responsibility. Don't be surprised when God starts trusting you with more souls, more decisions, more visibility. He's not promoting you, he's positioning you. Because there are people who can only receive from your frequency. your voice, your experience, your grace. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. And now that you are, the mantle is falling. The weight is rising. The time is now. Step into it, not with fear, but with fire. You are not just prepared. You are authorized. Entering the divine flow. There comes a time in the journey of every chosen one where striving ends and flow begins. Not because you're doing less, but because you're aligned more. Not because the world got easier, but because your spirit became wiser. You're no longer chasing, you're cooperating. You're no longer pulling destiny with your bare hands. You're riding the current of God's timing. This is what happens when the inner world aligns with the blueprint of heaven. Suddenly, everything that used to take force now happens through flow. This isn't laziness. This is lordship. Because when Jesus is truly Lord, not just of your spirit, but of your schedule, your desires, your dreams, you begin to walk in sacred rhythm. And that rhythm is not fast or slow, it's right. Isaiah 48:17 says, I am the Lord your God who teaches you what is best for you, who directs you in the way you should go. That means there is a way, a pace, a timing crafted just for you. And now, you're stepping into it. You'll begin to notice things aligning without your push, people calling at the right moment, doors opening without a knock, ideas arriving fully formed, downloads from the divine. This is the divine flow, and it only opens when you stop trying to manage your own miracle. You've done that long enough, stressed yourself into stagnation, exhausted yourself with time that weren't yours, compared your journey to others as if heaven grades on a curve. But now you see it. You see that divine flow has nothing to do with speed, and everything to do with sensitivity. You don't move faster because of urgency. You move deeper because of obedience. And it's from that depth that ease begins to find you. Yes, ease. Because what once wore you out now feeds your soul. What once caused anxiety now feels like assurance. What once required a push now responds to your presence. You don't have to force the door open when you are the key. John 7:38 affirms this shift beautifully. Whoever believes in me, as scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them. You are no longer searching for water. You have become the well. The pressure has lifted, not because the world changed, but because you stopped carrying what God already claimed. You finally understood. Your job is not to control the outcome. Your job is to follow the river. And now that you're flowing, everything is shifting. Your creativity is awakening. Your clarity is sharpening. Your energy is multiplying. Your pace is natural, peaceful, powerful. You're not missing the moment anymore. You are the moment. This is why everything had to fall apart before it could flow together. Because divine flow can't run through what's clogged with control. You had to let go. Let go of your deadlines. Let go of your fears. Let go of your constant need to know what's next. And once you did, the heavens began to move. Now, you're being carried by grace. People will see you rising and think it's sudden. But it's not sudden, it's surrendered. They'll think, you're lucky, but they won't see the lifestyle of alignment behind every door that opens. They'll wonder how you're so calm in the middle of a miracle. But calm is what happens when you stop swimming upstream and let the Spirit carry you downstream into everything that's already yours. This is the rhythm of those who walk with God. Like Enoch, who walked so closely he disappeared into glory. Like Jesus, who never rushed yet changed the world in 3 years. Like Mary, who simply said, "Let it be to me according to your word." That is flow. And now that you've tasted it, you'll never go back to striving. You'll protect this atmosphere. You'll guard your energy. You'll filter your yes through your assignment. You'll prioritize rest as strategy, because in the divine flow, rest is not a reward, it is a requirement. And from that rest, revelation flows. From that peace, power multiplies. From that stillness, strategy is born. You are no longer a vessel for exhaustion. You are a channel of glory, and heaven is pouring now through your words, your gifts, your presence. So move with the wind. Don't push, don't pull, don't panic. Flow. The river knows where it's going. You are writing a legacy in the SPIRITIs in one. What if I told you that the breakthrough you're carrying is not just a personal promise, it's a generational prophecy? What if I told you that your obedience today is securing someone else's freedom tomorrow? What if I told you that the very thing you've survived, the very storm you've endured, the fire that tried to take you out was never just about you? You are not just walking into favor. You are walking into legacy. And legacy doesn't start When you leave this earth, it starts the moment your life begins, echoing in eternity. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." But this inheritance is not just material, it is spiritual. You are leaving a pattern, a pathway, a frequency that others will follow long after your voice grows quiet. This is why the battle was so fierce, because hell never fights what isn't a threat. The enemy knew that if you survived the silence, if you pushed through the isolation, if you kept your heart soft through it, all something eternal would break open through you. And now, it's happening. You're not just shifting your life, you're rerouting your bloodline. The trauma stops with you. The fear ends here. The limitation gets buried in this season, because God isn't just raising you, He's raising a standard through you. Isaiah 59:19 prophesies, "When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him." And you, chosen one, are that standard. You are what heaven lifts when darkness tries to take over. You are the breach repairer, the curse breaker, the pattern disruptor. You are the one your ancestors prayed for without knowing your name. You are the one your future generations will thank in whispers they speak in their own prayers. And everything you've been through, it wasn't for nothing. Every tear sowed seeds. Every no trained your spirit. Every delay set a deeper foundation, because legacies aren't built in ease. They're forged in fire. You are not carrying a moment, you are carrying movement. You are not just rising for yourself. You are rising for every voice that was silenced, for every generation that was denied access, for every child that will grow up knowing peace, because you chose healing over hiding. That now heaven is partnering with you, not just to bless you, but to establish you, establish your house, establish your name in glory, establish your steps, so that others can follow without slipping. You are not just birthing results, you are birthing revelation. You are showing the world what happens when a person surrenders fully, when a soul becomes a sanctuary, when a life becomes a lighthouse. You are becoming an altar, and altars don't beg for attention, they burn. That become places where people meet God through your testimony, through your words, through your walk. You've shifted realms, you've transitioned from breakthrough chaser to blessing steward, and now, you are no longer seeking significance, you are carrying substance. Your legacy won't be your status, it will be your spirit, your faithfulness, your integrity when no one was watching, your truth when lies surrounded you, your vision when others gave up, your yes when it was costly. Psalm 145:4 declares, "One generation shall commend your works to another, and shall declare your mighty acts." That is your assignment now, to be the bridge between what was and what must be, to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to heal from what you refuse to confront. To make sure that your ceiling becomes someone else's floor, to ensure that what started with pain ends in praise. You are walking proof that God doesn't just bless people, He builds bloodlines. You are the seed of restoration planted in soil that once birthed sorrow, and now, the roots are spreading. Your impact will outlive your name. Your faith will ripple through time. Your voice will be remembered not because it was loud, but because it was true. So let the pressure form the legacy. Let the fire shape the foundation. Let the stretching birth something eternal. Because chosen one, your life is not a moment. It is a movement, and movements never die. They multiply. The door is open, it's happening. You may not fully see it yet. You may still feel the weight of yesterday's questions. But in the spirit realm, something has shifted. Heaven's hand has moved, and the door is unlocking. This isn't imagination. This is culmination. This is what everything has been building toward. The prayers, the pain, the process, the pressing, all of it has led here, to this threshold, to this turning point, to this divine collision between promise and time. Chosen one, the delay was never denial. It was divine alignment. God wasn't ignoring your cry, He was weaving your crown. The reason it took time was because what He's unlocking isn't ordinary. It's not a quick blessing. It's not a one-time breakthrough. It's a life shift. You've passed through the fires of refinement. You've endured the silence of sacred preparation. You've stood when others fell. You've stayed when others walked away. You've said yes in the dark without knowing what the light would reveal. And now the door is opening. Not a door you had to force. Not a door you had to beg for. Not a door that others tried to slam shut in your face. This door has your name on it. It was etched in heaven's blueprint before time began. Revelation 3-8 echoes like a trumpet now. Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Let those words settle into your spirit. No one can shut what God has opened. Not the lies they told, not the betrayal you faced, not the rejection you carried, not even your past self. This is not a reward for perfection. This is a fulfillment of obedience. You stayed faithful. You stayed surrendered. You stayed believing, and belief is the frequency of the miraculous. That's why this door is opening now, just to you, but through you. This isn't a door that only benefits you. It's a door that releases a new realm of impact, of voice, of flow, of favor. You're stepping into visibility, but it's not for vanity. It's for victory. You're stepping into authority, but it's not for control. It's for kingdom. You're stepping into acceleration, but it's not for applause. It's for assignment. Every piece is falling into place, not by chance, but by choreography. The connections are coming. The finances are flowing. The clarity is crystallizing. The confirmation is resonating. And it's all happening in such holy rhythm that it could only be the fingerprint of God. You will recognize this door not by its glamour, but by its peace. It won't exhaust you, it will energize you. It won't confuse you, it will clarify you. It won't pull you out of character, will amplify your calling. You won't have to push, you'll simply walk, because what's opening is not just an opportunity, it's a portal. A divine moment of transition that doesn't just shift what's around you, it shifts what's within you. You'll notice how the room feels different, how people respond differently, how favor begins to find you rather than you having to search for it. That's because you've entered the timing of God. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. This is your time. Your timeline is being rewritten to reflect what heaven always intended. What once felt impossible will feel inevitable. The things that took years will now take days. The things you once dreamed of will now feel divinely natural. You'll step into conversations you once prayed to be included in. You'll see fruit from seeds you forgot you planted. You'll wake up to answered prayers that used to feel like whispers into a void, because God didn't forget. He was saving the best for now. And when this door opens, when this moment lands, it will not feel like pressure. It will feel like permission. Permission to speak, permission to create, permission to lead, permission to take up space without apology. You will know it is God, because the door will demand the real you, not the masked version you once performed as. And you, chosen one, are ready. You are ready to rise without fear, ready to lead without shrinking, ready to carry without cracking. Not because you're strong, but because you've been surrendered. So when the door opens, walk through it. Walk with reverence. Walk with expectancy. Walk with boldness. Walk with fire. Because the next room needs what the last season taught you. And you are the fulfillment of 1,000 prayers, yours and others. Don't second guess this moment. Heaven has already said yes. You were always the INSWAR chosen one. Now that you've made it to this final moment, know this. You didn't just watch a message, you walked through a doorway. You didn't just hear a word, you've been activated. You've sat through fire. You've listened with your spirit wide open. You stayed until the end. And heaven honors that. Because those who endured to the final breath of a word like this are not just listening, they are receiving a mantle. You are not here by accident. You were summoned here by divine frequency. You followed the pull, and now the assignment is landing. You are not who you used to be. You're not the version that questioned your worth, not the one who waited for approval, not the one who traded your light for belonging. You are a carrier of glory, and it's time to walk in it. God is no longer just speaking to you. He is speaking through you. You are the message now. You are the movement. You are the miracle made manifest. All of heaven stands at attention when someone like you says yes. So say it now with your life, your posture, your pace. Yes, Lord, I receive. I am ready. I will go. You don't need all the answers. You are an answer to someone's hopelessness, to a generation's confusion, to a world's craving for light in the middle of collapse. You are not the echo. You are the voice. You are not a replica. You are the blueprint. You are not late. You are right on time. Jeremiah 29:11 is no longer just a comfort, it is your confirmation. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. That future is now. But before you step into the field, before you write the next chapter, Before you carry this fire into the world, there is one final thing, a sacred ritual of release. If your heart has burned with confirmation, if your spirit has been quickened, if something deep within you knows that you were always meant for this moment, then I invite you to complete this spiritual seal. The threefold ACTIVATOI. Like this video, let heaven and earth agree that you heard the call. You didn't just stumble here, you arrived. This click is not for vanity, it is a spiritual yes. Subscribe to this channel. Join the 70,000 chosen ones who are awakening, aligning, and advancing in divine unity. You are not alone anymore. You are family. You are tribe. Comment the sacred number 999. This is your seal. This is your signal. 999 is not just a number. It is completion of the old and activation of the new. By typing it, you're declaring, I have finished my wilderness. I now enter my assignment. I release the old timeline. I embrace the new dimension. I am chosen. I am aligned. I am ready. Let those three actions seal what your spirit has already accepted. And now, as you step away from this video, don't leave this word behind. Walk it. Walk it in your business. Walk it in your relationships. Walk it in your voice, your art, your fire. Let your shadow heal rooms. Let your presence shift atmospheres. Let your decisions reflect your destiny. And when the noise returns, and will, when the doubts creep in, and they might, when you feel the pressure to return to who you were, remember this, you've already crossed over. There is no going back. You've been seen. You've been marked. You've been commissioned. This is not just your season. This is your spiritual emergence. The light has been lit. The veil has been torn. The door is still open. And the world is about to meet who you really are. Now rise. Go forth with the fire. Go forth with the mantle. Go forth with the full weight of heaven, backing your every step. This is your time. This is your unveiling. This is your divine. Yes, amen.